there's this map that I want to show you. This is NAIA, Manila's main airport, built for 35 million passengers a year. Right now, it's handling 52. So Manila's doing the obvious thing. It's building another airport, and another, and another. 4 international airports for one city. And the first time I saw all 4 on a map like this, my honest reaction was, that can't be right. That's too many. Singapore runs one of the busiest hubs on earth with a single airport. Tokyo, way bigger than Manila, uses 2. So why is Manila building 4? That's the question I wanted to know. And I want to show you what I found. It starts with the money, and it's a number nobody really likes to talk about. 2 of these deals alone cross 900 billion pesos. 735 for Bulacan, 170 for renovating NAIA. Add Clark and Sangley and the rail lines that are supposed to connect them, and this becomes one of the biggest infrastructure bets the country has ever made. So this actually matters. If 4 airports are too many, that's a massive amount of money being wasted. But if it's the right call, it could be how 100 million people are going to travel for the next 50 years. And I figured this should be easy to answer. We should just find the plan. There could be a document out there where somebody sat down and looked at the cost and the demand and decided on 4. But there isn't one. So here's where I started, with the math, because I thought the math will just tell me. The idea is simple. Add up all the capacity Manila is building, compare it to what the region actually needs. If we are building more than we need, it's overbuilding. Come do it with me. Watch the map. The most cited forecast says Manila needs to handle about 111 million passengers a year by 2040. That's the target, so let's add up the airports. Being careful, let's only count what's firmly happening soon. A renovated NAIA, 62 million. Clark today, 8. Bulacan's first phase, 35. That's 105 million, which is actually under the target. So counted this way, Manila isn't really overbuilding at all. It might be building too little. So case closed, right? Except, watch what happens when I count the exact same airports just at the full size in their master plans and proposals. Same NAIA, 62, but Clark's full plan, up to 80. Bulacan, all its runways, 100. Sangley, around 80. Over 300 million, almost triple what the region needs. That's the same 4 airports for the same country. So the same 4 airports gives you 2 answers, and they're more than 200 million passengers apart. One is basically saying to build more, the other says you've already committed way too much. And you can't get a gap that big if there's a real plan underneath. A plan that will tell us when enough is enough. But this is where everything breaks, because there's actually no document deciding which of these airports at what size is supposed to get built. Nobody wrote it down. So if the numbers can't tell me if 4 is too many, then that means I'm asking the wrong question. What we need to find out may not actually be how many airports should be built, but rather who. Who decided to build 4 airports? So I went looking for the decision itself. And this is where it gets good. Because here's the thing, it didn't start as 4. If we go back 10 years, the map looks like this. 2 airports. A plan back then made sense. Manila's planners, a Japanese agency called JICA, said keep NAIA for now, grow Clark up north, and eventually build one clean replacement for NAIA. Because NAIA physically can't grow. I'll show you why later. That replacement was supposed to be Sangley, down south. So 2 airports, 1 future replacement. That's the whole plan. Somewhere between this map and today's 4-pin map, somebody added the rest. There has to be a moment, an order, a meeting, a signature. So I went hunting for it. And there are 4 places that decision should be. Let's check all 4. The first place to look is an order. In 2015, a group of business people up in Clark started pushing hard to get Clark named the second gateway. In April 2016, they formed a lobbying group 1 month before a presidential election, which is either a coincidence or the best timed lobbying in the history of Philippine aviation. By June, their guy meets the incoming president, hands him their manifesto. Weeks later, he's running the agency that operates Clark. And Clark shows up in the new president's very first State of the Nation. In February 2017, it's official. An executive order names Clark a major gateway. But it's only Clark that it mentions. It doesn't set a number for the region, nor does it decide a system. A good lobbying campaign moved one pin on the map. Now comes the second place, an announcement. 1 month later, and this is the hinge of the entire story, the Transport Department quietly stops saying dual airport and starts saying multi-airport, and they announce from now on private companies can just propose airports and will consider them. This is not a decision to build more airports, it's a decision to stop deciding, to sit back and see what gets offered. And when you open a door like that, in a country with very rich, very motivated conglomerates, something walks through it immediately. That brings us to the third place, approvals. And that's where we meet San Miguel, the biggest conglomerate in the country. And I have to stop, because if you're not Filipino, this won't land. San Miguel is a beer company started in 1890. The beer, it's genuinely delicious, and it also somehow builds highways, power plants, railways, and as of this story, airports. At some point, the beer company decided it will just do national infrastructures, and nobody stopped it, which becomes a theme. Anyway, back in 2016, the beer company had proposed a giant airport at Bulacan, and once that door opened, the proposal had somewhere to go. It went through everything: proponent status, board approval, a challenge where rivals could beat the bid, but nobody did, and then a concession was signed in 2019. And I went through the whole paper trail, looking for the one step where somebody asked, does the region actually needs this, on top of the airports it already has? That step doesn't exist. The system can approve an airport regardless of whether there's 3 or even 5 airports that already exist. And here's the thing, the planners did actually flag it. In writing, they said the Bulacan site would fight Clark for the same passengers, that it sat on a floodplain, and remember this phrase, that it had poor accessibility. They saw it coming. Seeing a problem and being able to stop one turned out to be 2 completely different jobs. So there's one place left, the fourth, and by now I had a hunch it wouldn't be a yes at all. Maybe the decision is a no, a document that cancels Sangley, now that Bulacan's taken its job. There's no version of that document either, because Sangley refuses to die. Planners studied even the small version of it and called it, quote, not recommendable. It didn't matter. In 2020, a China-backed group wins the bid. Their contractor gets blacklisted by the US over the South China Sea, and the province cancels the award. Dead. But a new group just files another proposal, and as of this year, the airport that was supposed to replace NAIA is back at a brand new feasibility study. A study to decide whether to build the thing they've been trying to build for a decade. And that's where it ends. 4 places a decision should live. An order, an announcement, an approval, a cancellation. And none of them has it. Which leaves the last pin, the one that was hiding in plain sight the whole time, NAIA itself. In the original plan, NAIA was supposed to get replaced and bow out. But you can't retire a country's only working gateway on schedule while it's carrying 52 million people a year. So it stays, it gets a renovation instead of a retirement, 170 billion pesos, a 15-year deal, and quietly becomes permanent airport number 4. And now look at who won that renovation. It's San Miguel, the beer company, the same beer company building Bulacan. So one company now holds a contract to grow NAIA towards 60 plus million passengers and a 50-year contract to build 100 million passengers of capacity 35 kilometers up the road. And here's where it gets interesting. These 2 projects are actually competitors. They fight for the same passengers, the same airlines, the same city. They only both pay off if the country's air travel roughly doubles and fills both. Maybe it will, but if that's the bet the country is making, nobody is writing it down. And it goes one more step. A San Miguel unit also holds the concession for MRT 7, the train line that's supposed to carry people north toward Bulacan. So look at what one beer company is holding. The new airport, the old airport it's supposed to replace. and the train heading toward the new one. If you follow the money trail, it doesn't lead to a plan. It leads to one conglomerate holding the biggest pieces on the board. Whatever the future turns out to be, NAIA or Bulacan, or an expensive half-used boat, San Miguel is holding the winning ticket. And none of this is illegal. San Miguel won it all fair and square. This isn't a company breaking rules. It's what happens when the government stops deciding and a private company is the only one left making the calls. The closest thing Manila has to an airport plan is a beer company's business strategy. Which brings me to that one question. For me, proved there was never a plan at all. Let's forget 4 airports for a moment. Just answer one thing. The day Bulacan opens, what happens to NAIA? San Miguel wanted that answer too. During the Bulacan talks, and this was reported by the Inquirer at the time, they actually asked the government to promise in writing in the contract that NAIA would wind down within 24 months of the new airport opening. The government refused, so the one time someone actually asked the state to pick NAIA's future, it said no. So I went looking for any answer anyone had ever given, and here's what I found. Watch this. The building stays the same the whole time. In 2018, the Transport Secretary said if all the airports gets built, NAIA becomes prime real estate. In 2019, at the Bulacan signing, let them all compete. In 2022, the new secretary said the government could choose to close it. In 2023, the same secretary said there's no provision to close it. And lastly, by 2024, the finance secretary said sell the land, 6 trillion pesos, build a second Bonifacio global city, and ask out loud, will we even need both? And that same year, San Miguel takes NAIA over and starts spending 170 billion pesos, locking it in for a generation. So whatever you guessed a second ago, you were right. And so was everyone who guessed the opposite. I don't think any of these people were lying. Each answer was probably true the day it was said. They contradict each other because nobody ever actually made the call. And here's the part that got me. This is normal. Almost every city with several airports got them the same messy way. One project at a time, nobody drawing the whole picture up front. The good cities go back afterward and stitch the pieces into a system. The connections, the coordinations, the boring, expensive work that turns 4 airports into one network. Manila did the accumulating, it just never connected them, and that's the expensive part, and the part nobody's really watching. So let me show you what that missing piece actually looks like, because here's the thing about building an airport. The airport is the easy part. The expensive, almost impossible part is everything that connects it to the city. And that's the part Manila keeps building last. Say you're flying out of Clark and you live in Makati. By car, it's 100 kilometers, about 2 hours in real traffic, and about 1,500 pesos in tolls and fuel. That's not an airport run, that's an intercity drive. And if you don't have a car, there's a bus, but it's a whole chain. First, you get yourself to a P2P terminal, like Trinoma or NAIA Terminal 3. Then you wait for the Clark Airport bus. Then you ride 2.5 hours north. So it's doable. It's just not a normal airport trip. It's an intercity haul before your flight even starts. Now here's that same trip to NAIA from the same spot in Makati. 30, maybe 40 minutes. And this is the whole answer to why Clark sits half empty. It's not a worse airport. It's a better building than NAIA. It's just that reaching it eats half your day. Airlines know their passengers won't do that. So the airlines don't move. And this terminal that cost 12.5 billion pesos is running at about a third full. Which is exactly what the planners meant years before with those 2 little words, poor accessibility. So Clark is the perfect, expensive proof of the whole problem. You can spend a fortune on a spectacular airport, but if you never build a thing that connects it to people, you didn't build an airport, you built a monument. And there is supposed to be a fix, a real one. It's called the North-South Commuter Railway. And part of it is meant to be the country's first airport express, Makati to Clark in under an hour, with a station at the airport itself. And it's exactly what Clark needs. That half-day trip finally becomes a quick one. The stretch that reaches the airport is targeted for 2028, with full operations 2032, and it's already running 2 years late, held up by the same thing that holds up everything here, getting the land it needs to run on. They built the airport before they built any fast way to reach it. And it's not just Clark. Every one of these airports has a different axis fix, on its own separate timeline, and not one of them lands when the airport does. Clark's waiting on the NSCR, the subway to NAIA has already slipped to the early 2030s, and Bulacan and Sangley, there are rail ideas pointed their way, but no firm airport line running today. So it's four airports and a pile of disconnected transport projects, none of them sync to each other. And that Clark trip points at something bigger, where the money actually goes. Everyone pictures the airport as the expensive thing. It isn't. The full subway line that's supposed to reach NAIA was approved at around 355 billion pesos, and newer reporting puts it even higher. What's weird about this is that it's more than double the entire NAIA renovation, and about half of Bulacan, the most expensive airport in the country's history. The stuff that connects an airport to the city can cost as much as the airport itself. So they finish the terminal, everyone celebrates, and the thing that actually makes it useful is still years away. Here's the clearest example of the problem. NAIA is too crowded. There are too many planes and not enough room, so someone had a simple idea. How about we take some of the small propeller planes, the ones flying short island hops, and move them out of NAIA? That would free up space for the bigger international flights. Makes sense, right? Move a few small planes off the busiest airport in the country. That alone took 16 months. Because it turned out there was no permanent office whose job this was, so they had to build one from scratch, a committee pulling people from 5 different agencies together, just to shuffle some small planes off one airport, some to Clark, some to Cebu. 16 months and one blown deadline. And if that's how hard it is to coordinate one small thing, imagine coordinating 4 entire airports. And coordination is only half the problem. Even if you could run all 4 perfectly, there's a physical limit nobody can get around. Remember what I told you to hang onto at the start? Here it is. NAIA can't grow. The reason is almost stupidly simple. It's 2 runways cross each other. When one is in use, the other has to sit empty. So NAIA effectively runs on one runway, with no room to add another. It's already maxed out, and no amount of money changes that. And it gets worse when you zoom out. Bulacan is only 35 kilometers from NAIA. Extend the runway center lines over the water and they converge over the same stretch of sky. That's not a published flight path yet. It's the geometry someone will have to solve. But the physics doesn't care. You can pour concrete for 4 terminals, there's still only one sky above them. And a plane landing at one airport takes up room a plane needs at another. It's why New York's airports still slow each other down. And it's why NAIA was always supposed to be replaced, not made bigger. Yet it's being made bigger anyway, by the same company building its replacement. The one thing that has to be planned as a whole is the one thing nobody here is planning. And if your fix is just give each airport a job, yeah, I thought so too. Turns out that's the amateur move. London has 6 airports, and nobody centrally runs them. Tokyo tried a clean split, and the flights drifted back anyway, because passengers chase what's convenient, and airlines follow. You can't assign your way out of it. What works is the boring part, the connections, and that's what Manila skipped. So is 4 too many? Well, that was never the question. Manila is buying a huge amount of capacity. It's just not buying a system, and the people left holding that aren't the tycoons. It's the 52 million a year moving through a system nobody designed as one. They didn't need 4 airports. They needed the government to make one decision and stick to it, and nobody did.